our interviewer tonight is Mr. Bill Bentley, who was at the time a writer for the LA Weekly in Los Angeles, and did the gatefold review of the Oak independent LP that came out, the six-song LP that we put out in 1984, before Warner Brothers decided to make me famous. And that one did its job, and thank you always, Bill, for having spread the word with that double-page spread that you kick-started my career with in 84 in the LA Weekly.
And that got me a job at Warner Brothers, so I owe you too.
Well, I guess I apologize.
20 years.
You know, you deserved any job you got, you deserved. You were at Slash when we met, right? Yeah. Slash Records, which became a subsidiary of Warner, but they were independent. They are really street independent. They had the band X.
And you came in to interview with us, so I wanted to sign you, but our president wisely said Dwight Yoakam needs to be on a label that can promoting the country radio.
Well, as fate would have it, we were playing, and Brantley will tell you, we were playing punk clubs. Remember the Anti-Club gigs, Brantley, down in Helen, that Anti-Club on Melrose? And we played downtown at Al's Bar, that house, with Los Lobos in one room. We played in another room. You couldn't move. It's a house for folks who don't know about LA. And we would rotate. They played a set and we played a set in adjoining rooms of a house. It was crazy.
Right when you first came to Los Angeles to try music out here, what gave you that inspiration?
West Coast country. I mean, the Brian Ahern records that he was making with Emmy Lou were beacons, for a lot of musicians. But specifically for me because of the West Coast, the first album, I think there was a run of about 6 albums that Brian Ahern did, with that original Hot Band that he put together. Emmy Lou and Brian were on the Sirius XM show, and we were interviewing them both. Emmy did an interview with us first by herself, and we did so much talking about Brian that we decided not to air the two until we could go back and capture Brian with him and do a companion set of interviews. Also, Linda Ronstadt's first 2 albums were a big pull for me out here. She was doing at that point a lot of traditional country music, and those guys, and I knew there was a scene going on. The Burrito Brothers were the most famous band that nobody had ever heard, probably in the history of music. Chris, and I say that with great admiration and affection because he pioneered a trail, and he Post the Birds. I mean, really, Chris was starting to do that as I look back now with Younger Than Yesterday, that album. And he brought Clarence White into the Byrds on the Younger Than Yesterday album before he brought Graham in, because Chris is who brought Graham Parsons in on the Sweetheart of the Rodeo album. One of the things that brought me to the West Coast that I was unaware was bringing me to the West Coast, but was an opportunity to play with people like the gentleman to my left, Mr. Brantley Kearns, from High Point, North Carolina, who was gracious enough to come down tonight and be with us on stage and playing and performing some of the music that he pioneered with me on the Guitars Cadillacs album and the Hillbilly Deluxe album too. And I just had sort of a premonition about what my future was going to be, and it wasn't in Nashville. I'd gone to Nashville for a brief time and kind of kicked around, and kind of kicked the tires. And it was a different moment there than it is now. But I was unaware that it was a town that was really built on the publishing industry, not live performance as much as, at that time. I mean, the Opry was there at Opryland Park and so forth, but it really was about those houses on Music Row where there were writers cloistered in rooms, creating material for people to sing it. I was about performing at that point. I was just in college, and I left and took Interstate 70 in a 1974 orange Volkswagen Beetle with a buddy of mine named Bill Alves, and deposited ourselves in Long Beach, California, for an unauspicious beginning. A great old ocean town down there, 1977. That's when I arrived. Bradley, when did you come to the West Coast? What year?
About 78.
78. And you came from High Point at that point, or were you in North Carolina still?
Yeah, I came from High Point, and
Was there musical work out here for you that brought you here, or just you had a hunch?
yeah, more I had a hunch.
Yeah. Well, I think probably everybody in the band that came from somewhere. There's no LA natives here. No. I was just thinking because over the years I've had varying band members and there've been a couple of, I don't know, maybe there haven't been. In the music scene, it doesn't seem like you ever meet anybody who's from LA. A native Californian, our director, Ray Rialosio, is now Long Beach? You're allowed to nod. You don't get to talk. Keep your mask on. What's up next?